From the heart of Boston, a chilling whisper began to weave itself into the tapestry of my life, a silent encroacher disguised as devotion. My name is Natalie Wilson, a soul once vibrant and dedicated to the boundless curiosity of kindergartners. Now a woman standing on the precipice of an unimaginable reckoning. At 29, with the profound weight of 9 months of pregnancy anchoring me to the earth, my ankles swollen, my back a canvas of persistent ache, I found myself adrift on a crowded bus, a captive audience to my husband Marcus's unleashed fury. His face, once a beacon of charming smiles, was a distorted mask of rage, each contortion a fresh scar on my heart. Behind him, a shadow loomed, his mother Barbara, her lips curled into a smirk that spoke volumes of cold satisfaction, a silent cheer for the demolition of my spirit. Like, subscribe, share, and comment to join this journey of resilience and rediscovery. Your engagement fuels the stories that need to be told. 3 years. 3 fleeting years had conspired to unravel the man I had pledged my life to, transforming my loving Marcus into a stranger I no longer recognized. A phantom limb of affection where once a warm embrace had been. That public humiliation, witnessed by a busload of hushed strangers, wasn't just a moment of profound shame. It was the seismic tremor that finally cracked the carefully constructed facade of my life, the breaking point that demanded an impossible choice. Before I delve into the raw, unvarnished truth of my journey, I yearn to know where your own story intersects with mine. Please, hit that subscribe button, and in the comments below, share your city with me. Trust me, what unfolded next transcended the ordinary, etching an indelible mark upon my very existence. Life before Marcus was a symphony of quiet joys and profound purpose. My days as a kindergarten teacher at a quaint private school in Boston were a testament to the magic of nurturing young minds. My classroom, a haven adorned with the vibrant, uninhibited artwork of my students, was perpetually filled with the infectious melody of laughter, a sanctuary where discovery bloomed. It was my happy place, a space where my spirit soared. My parents, Linda and Thomas, resided a mere 30 minutes away, their presence a constant source of comfort and unwavering support. Sunday dinners were a sacred ritual, punctuated by Dad's arrival with fresh bagels and Mom's captivating tales from her nursing shifts. Their 35 years of shared life were a living testament to the enduring power of partnership, a silent lesson in what true marital harmony could embody. I cultivated a comfortable apartment in Cambridge, a space that reflected my independent spirit, and found solace in weekend hikes with Scout, my loyal golden retriever, our adventures painting indelible memories against the backdrop of nature. Volunteering at a literacy program was another facet of my fulfilling life, a testament to my belief in the transformative power of words. Independence wasn't merely a concept. It was the very bedrock of my being, a value I guarded fiercely. My friends, with affectionate jest, often teased me about my discerning taste in dating, but I held firm to the conviction that solitude was infinitely preferable to settling for a partner who couldn't truly honor my worth. Little did I comprehend then how eerily prophetic those seemingly innocuous concerns would become. Our paths converged amidst the joyous cacophony of my college roommate Rachel's wedding, a day meant for celebration, but which, for me, became a fateful turning point. Marcus, the best man, was a figure of understated charm, tall, with sun-kissed blonde hair that seemed to catch the light, and a smile that when it truly reached his eyes, etched crinkles of genuine warmth at the corners. The reception buzzed with animated conversations and the infectious rhythm of music, and it was precisely then, as my favorite song began its opening notes, that he approached. Coincidence, he'd claimed, a playful glint in his eyes as he extended a hand. I would later discover that he had meticulously inquired about my music preferences from Rachel, a detail that, in retrospect, painted a more complex picture. "You teach kindergarten," he'd observed, twirling me gently across the dance floor. That requires a special kind of patience. His gaze was steady, admiring. I work in hospital administration, nowhere near as meaningful as shaping young minds. His humility, a rare quality in a world often consumed by self-importance, deeply impressed me. Throughout the evening, Marcus displayed a remarkable ability to recall even the smallest details from our conversations, asking thoughtful questions that made me feel not just seen, but profoundly understood. He possessed an innate gift for making me feel like the singular, most important person in the room. When other guests, eager to connect with the best man, approached, he would politely acknowledge their presence, his attention, however, swiftly and seamlessly returning to me, a gesture that spoke volumes of his focus and seemingly genuine interest. Our first date unfolded the very next weekend, an eager anticipation humming in the air. Marcus arrived bearing a generous bouquet of wildflowers, their vibrant hues a direct echo of a passing comment I had made about their simple beauty. He escorted me to a charming, intimate Italian restaurant, a place so unassuming yet imbued with an authentic warmth. To my surprise, the owner greeted him by name, a familiar camaraderie that struck me as unusual for a first visit. It wasn't until much later that I learned the truth. Marcus had visited the restaurant, not once, but twice that week, meticulously ensuring every detail would be impeccable for our evening. The ensuing 3 months felt like a dream spun from moonbeams and starlight, a period of intoxicating enchantment. Marcus would send steaming cups of coffee to my classroom on particularly challenging days, a small but profoundly thoughtful gesture. He effortlessly remembered the names of my friends, weaving them seamlessly into conversation, a testament to his attentiveness. Despite the demanding nature of his work in hospital administration, he always carved out time for me, making me feel consistently prioritized. When a brutal cold laid me low, he appeared at my doorstep, a silent sentinel of care, bearing homemade soup, a box of soft tissues, and a stack of my favorite movies, ready to soothe my ailments. His unwavering attentiveness made me feel cherished in a way I had never experienced before. A sense of being truly seen and cared for that was intoxicatingly new. Yet, in the harsh, unforgiving light of hindsight, the subtle, insidious warning signs that were present even then now screamed for recognition. When I would mention tentative weekend plans with friends, a fleeting shadow of disappointment would flicker across Marcus's face before he would smoothly pivot, suggesting an alternative, an intimate escapade for just the two of us instead. If I donned an outfit that he, in his unspoken judgment, deemed too revealing, he would offer a carefully constructed compliment, a veiled suggestion that something else might be even more beautiful on you. These comments, always cloaked in the soft raiment of concern, were meticulously framed as caring, never as controlling, a masterful sleight of hand that rendered them almost imperceptible to my then naive heart. Marcus's relationship with his mother, Barbara, was from the very outset an enigma, shrouded in an almost unsettling intimacy. He called her daily, a ritualistic devotion that often compelled him to step away from our conversations, his voice lowered, hushed. When I finally met her, 2 months into our burgeoning relationship, her gaze, sharp and critical, immediately unsettled me. She posed a series of invasive questions, delving into the intricacies of my family's financial situation, probing my career aspirations with an almost surgical precision. Marcus, ever the charming mediator, would laugh it off, a dismissive wave of his hand. "Mom just wants to make sure you're good enough for her little boy," he'd say, a phrase that even then carried a faint echo of discomfort. Barbara would call during our dates, her calls an inescapable interruption, and Marcus, without fail, would always answer. When I hesitantly, gently, questioned this unyielding allegiance, he would become immediately defensive, a protective wall rising between us. "She lives alone since Dad died," he'd explain, his voice tinged with a manufactured pathos. "I'm all she has." His loyalty at the time seemed admirable, a noble testament to his character. What I failed to discern then was the insidious way this dynamic would inexorably erode the foundations of our nascent relationship, slowly, silently undermining its very essence. As our relationship blossomed, a subtle yet pervasive criticism began to seep into Marcus's commentary on my choices. My teaching career, though sweet and fulfilling, was deemed not ambitious enough. My comfortable apartment, charming in its lived-in warmth, was declared in need of a man's touch. My cherished friends, vibrant and supportive, were dismissed as a bit immature. Each carefully worded comment was a tiny chisel, slowly eroding my confidence, while simultaneously positioning Marcus as the paragon of sensibility, the one whose judgment was inherently superior. After 6 months of this slow, systematic dismantling, Marcus proposed during a romantic weekend escape to Cape Cod. The ring, undeniably beautiful in its intricate design, was, however, not quite my style, a detail Barbara would later smugly reveal she had helped select. Yet, swept away by the dizzying romance of the moment, I uttered a resounding yes, without a flicker of hesitation. My parents, ever the guardians of my well-being, expressed their happiness, but gently suggested a longer engagement, a period of thoughtful reflection to ensure our compatibility. Their caution, rooted in decades of wisdom, was, in my youthful exuberance, summarily dismissed as mere overprotectiveness, a lingering parental instinct to shield me from the unknown. Our wedding, a mere 8 months later, was a vision of ethereal beauty. White roses cascaded, and string lights, like scattered stardust, transformed a historic Boston venue into a fairy tale setting. Barbara, however, insisted on orchestrating many of the details, her preferences relentlessly overriding my own, with casual pronouncements like, "Marcus would prefer this," or "This is how a proper wedding should be." I compromised, choosing the path of least resistance, believing that the sacred bonds of marriage would, in time, establish new, healthier boundaries. During our vows, Marcus pledged to cherish and respect me forever, his voice a melodic promise of enduring love. Yet amidst the joyous celebrations of the reception, a chilling snippet of conversation reached my ears, a discordant note in the harmony of the day. "Don't worry, Mom," Marcus confided to Barbara, his voice low but clearly audible. "Nothing will change between us." The comment, a subtle knife to my hopeful heart, unsettled me profoundly. But I, ever the optimist, pushed my concerns aside, attributing them to the inevitable anxieties of a wedding day, a fleeting moment of nervous energy that would soon dissipate. The changes that followed our union were not a sudden, violent upheaval, but a gradual, almost imperceptible shift, like the slow tightening of invisible chains. Marcus subtly suggested I relinquish my teaching career, framing it as a logical step to focus on creating our home. When I expressed hesitation, a flicker of my former independence asserting itself, he skillfully emphasized the undeniable financial sense of relying solely on his larger salary. A practical argument that seemed, at the time, irrefutable. Barbara, ever the omnipresent force, began her ritualistic weekend visits, her stays often extending from Friday's twilight through Monday's dawn. She would, with an almost surgical precision, rearrange our furniture, transforming our shared space into a reflection of her own aesthetic. She criticized my cooking, her pronouncements delivered with the authority of a seasoned culinary expert, and with a casual cruelty, she would reminisce about Marcus's past girlfriends, their culinary prowess a stark contrast to my own perceived shortcomings. "They were such wonderful cooks," she'd sigh, a subtle dig that twisted the knife. 2 years into our marriage, conversations about starting a family became a frequent, almost insistent topic. I, too, was excited about the prospect of motherhood, a dream I had always cherished, but a persistent undercurrent of unease lingered, a desire to first establish healthier boundaries with Barbara, to reclaim a semblance of autonomy within my own home. Marcus, predictably, dismissed my concerns with a wave of his hand. "Once we have children," he insisted, his voice laced with a false reassurance, "you'll appreciate having Mom around to help." After a period of my own quiet hesitation, Marcus suddenly became intensely enthusiastic about the prospect of having a baby, a shift so abrupt it struck me as odd. I now suspect, with the bitter clarity of hindsight, that Barbara was the unseen catalyst for this dramatic change, her insistent pronouncements about wanting grandchildren echoing through our home during her omnipresent visits. 3 months later, when the undeniable reality of my pregnancy settled upon us, both Marcus and Barbara reacted with an overwhelming, almost suffocating excitement. It swiftly metastasized into constant, intrusive supervision of my every movement, a suffocating blanket of control that began to stifle my very breath. The day I unearthed the sacred truth of my pregnancy remains an exquisitely bittersweet etching upon the landscape of my memory. After weeks of an elusive period, and a persistent, profound weariness that draped itself over me like a heavy cloak, I performed the silent ritual of a home test while Marcus was at work. Those 2 delicate pink lines, blossoming into existence before my very eyes, ignited a cascade of emotions within me, an unbridled wonder, a fragile hope, and a tremor of nervous excitement for the unknown journey ahead. I meticulously prepared a special dinner, a silent celebration of this nascent life, and with trembling hands, wrapped the guest in a tiny, unassuming box, alongside a pair of baby booties I had impulsively, joyously purchased weeks prior. When Marcus unwrapped the gift, his expression traversed a bewildering spectrum, from initial surprise, quickly morphing into a fleeting uncertainty, before finally settling into a smile that even then felt hollow, failing to truly reach the depths of his eyes. "We're going to be parents," he uttered, pulling me into an embrace that, despite its outward warmth, carried an unsettling detachment. Within mere minutes, before the echo of his words had fully dissipated, his phone was pressed to his ear, Barbara's name escaping his lips. "Mom, you're going to be a grandmother," he announced, placing her on speakerphone, a decision made without my consultation. Her ecstatic squeal of delight erupted, immediate and overwhelming. "I'll be there tomorrow to help plan everything," Barbara declared, her voice resonating with an unshakable resolve. Before I could even formulate an objection, Marcus, with a swift nod, had sealed my fate. Plans, meticulous and unyielding, were set in motion, entirely devoid of my input, my desires, my very presence. Barbara's arrival the following day was not a gentle visitation, but an invasion, an inexorable force descending upon my burgeoning world. She arrived armed with an arsenal of pregnancy books, their pages dog-eared with her meticulous notes, alongside exhaustive lists of acceptable foods, a dietary decree I was expected to obey without question. Her opinions, resolute and unyielding, permeated every facet of my pregnancy, from the precise brand of prenatal vitamins I should consume to the very names we dared to consider for our unborn child. "Natalie needs to understand that this isn't just about her anymore," she pronounced to Marcus, her gaze fixed on me, a chilling judgment in her eyes. I sat across from them, suddenly acutely aware of my transmuted identity, no longer an expectant mother, but merely an incubator, a vessel for their grand design. My first prenatal appointment, a moment that should have been steeped in intimacy and shared anticipation between Marcus and me, was instead commandeered by Barbara's insistent presence. She declared her intention to join us, an uninvited third party to the sacred unfolding of my pregnancy. In the doctor's office, a sterile environment suddenly charged with an unspoken tension, she usurped my voice, answering questions meticulously directed at me, presenting Dr. Reynolds with a pre-prepared list of concerns she had, in her self-appointed role, painstakingly researched. Natalie has been drinking coffee. Is that going to harm the baby? She interrogated Dr. Reynolds, whose kind eyes darted uncomfortably between us, sensing the unspoken currents of control. One small cup a day is generally considered safe, the doctor explained, her voice gentle, her gaze purposefully meeting mine. Before I could offer a response, Marcus interjected, his voice a silken thread of false concern. "We'll eliminate all caffeine just to be safe, won't we, honey?" His hand, appearing affectionate to a casual observer, squeezed mine with a subtle, yet unmistakable warning. This insidious pattern became the unwelcome rhythm of every subsequent appointment. When we learned the joyous news that we were expecting a girl, Barbara, without hesitation, immediately vetoed every name I suggested, dismissing them as frivolous, opting instead for a lineage of family names from her side. Marcus, predictably, echoed her sentiments, his voice tinged with an almost childlike admiration. "Mom has great taste in names. After all, she named me." Each word was a tiny hammer, chipping away at my autonomy, reshaping my identity, not as a woman, but as an extension of their collective will. By my 4th month of pregnancy, Barbara had, with an almost surgical precision, engineered a temporary relocation into our guest room, her stated purpose to help with the pregnancy. What began as a supposed weekend visit metamorphosed into an indefinite residency, a perpetual fixture in our home. She systematically commandeered the nursery, imposing her rigid aesthetic, choosing a garish pink and gray theme that clashed violently with my unspoken preferences. A battle I was too exhausted, too emotionally depleted to wage. She rearranged our kitchen cabinets, creating space for her peculiar assortment of special pregnancy teas, and an endless array of supplements she vehemently insisted I ingest. "You're doing it wrong," became her constant, demoralizing refrain, an omnipresent judgment that clung to every action, whether I was meticulously folding a tiny baby onesie or laboriously preparing a meal. Marcus, in a relentless display of unwavering loyalty, consistently sided with his mother. "Mon raised me successfully," he would patiently explain, his tone laden with a patronizing authority. "So maybe listen to her advice." My burgeoning emotions, my very instincts, were dismissed as mere pregnancy hormones, a convenient scapegoat for their relentless control. As my belly expanded, a living testament to the miracle unfolding within me, my world, paradoxically, began to shrink, contracting under the suffocating weight of Marcus's escalating control. He became a master of artful excuses, meticulously canceling my plans with friends, each appointed outing a further severance from my once vibrant social tapestry. "Rachel sounds like she has a cold," he'd declare, his voice laced with feigned concern. "You can't risk getting sick." My parents, my anchors, my unwavering support system, were deemed a source of undue stress. "Your parents can visit after the baby comes," he insisted. "They'll just stress you out now." He engineered the installation of a sophisticated home security system. It sensors a silent, omnipresent surveillance, notifying him of every door opening, every movement, all under the guise of ensuring my safety. He began a chilling ritual of checking my phone regularly, perusing my private messages under the fabricated pretense of sharing everything as spouses should. Calls with my parents, once a private solace, were now conducted solely on speakerphone. Marcus or Barbara a looming presence, their ears attuned to every word. My dearest friend, Stephanie, a bastion of unwavering loyalty before Marcus had systematically isolated me, attempted a visit, her arms laden with thoughtful baby gifts. Barbara, a watchful sentinel, intercepted her at the door, coolly claiming I was resting and couldn't be disturbed. It was days later, through a cryptic text from Stephanie. "Hope you're feeling better. Your mother-in-law seemed very protective of your rest time." That the truth of her thwarted visit finally unspooled, another thread in the intricate web of my isolation. Financial control, a silent, insidious weapon, tightened its grip alongside the relentless social isolation. Marcus suggested the pragmatic merger of our bank accounts, framing it as a matter of simplicity. This seemingly innocuous act, however, was merely a prelude to his unwavering insistence on approving every single purchase. My maternity clothes, essential for my expanding form, were summarily deemed too expensive. Yet Barbara, the unchallengeable matriarch, received a gleaming new iPad, purchased without a whisper of discussion, her purpose to help research baby information. When my feet, swollen and aching under the burgeoning weight of pregnancy, desperately cried out for new, comfortable shoes, I found myself endlessly justifying the expense, each plea met with a wall of resistance. Meanwhile, Barbara, with an almost defiant flourish, ordered an elaborate crib bedding set. Its cost 3 times that of my humble shoe request, and Marcus, without a moment's hesitation, approved it immediately. "It's not just about money," Marcus patiently explained, his voice devoid of empathy, when I, in a rare moment of defiance, questioned this flaring disparity. "It's about priorities. Mom understands what the baby really needs." By my 7th month, the erosion of my autonomy was complete. I required explicit permission for even the most basic purchases and was subjected to an unceasing accounting of my whereabouts. If my grocery run extended beyond an arbitrary time frame, I would return home to a flurry of missed calls, Marcus lurking in the driveway, feigning concern, his presence a palpable threat. A relentless physical and emotional toll of this suffocating control manifested undeniably at my 30-week checkup. My blood pressure, a silent barometer of my internal turmoil, had escalated significantly, and Dr. Reynolds, with a keen professional eye, noted the alarming deceleration of my weight gain despite being well into the 3rd trimester. "Are you experiencing unusual stress at home, Natalie?" she inquired, her voice soft, empathetic, seizing a rare, fleeting moment when Barbara had stepped out to take a call. Before I could articulate the raw truth that threatened to spill forth, Marcus, ever the master of my narrative, reappeared, his voice a smooth, practiced reassurance. "We're just excited about the baby. Everything's fine at home, right, honey?" The unspoken warning in his eyes, a familiar flicker of menace, left no room for dissent. I nodded silently, a hollow echo of agreement, as Dr. Reynolds, her gaze unconvinced, prescribed rest and stress reduction, her concern palpable despite my forced composure. That night, the bathroom, my solitary sanctuary, became a haven for my silent tears, a place where the mask of composure could finally crumble. My daughter, a vibrant life force within me, responded with a reassuring kick, a silent promise of solidarity. And in that moment, a desperate vow formed on my lips. Things would be different for her. The how, the when, the arduous path to freedom. These remained shrouded in an impenetrable fog, but the resolve, a tiny flickering flame, had been ignited. It was a promise whispered into the vulnerable silence of my own heart, a silent declaration of war against the forces that sought to diminish me. The morning of the bus incident, a day that would irrevocably alter the trajectory of my life, dawned like countless others in my 3rd trimester. I awoke utterly exhausted, another night of fragmented sleep, leaving my 9-month pregnant body struggling to find even a fleeting moment of comfort. Marcus, ever in control, had scheduled yet another appointment with Dr. Reynolds, ostensibly to monitor my blood pressure, which remained stubbornly, concerningly high. "Barbara will meet us at the clinic," Marcus announced over breakfast, his movements precise as he scraped the burnt edges off toast he had unilaterally decided I should consume. I hadn't asked for toast, but the mere thought of objecting, of challenging his unsolicited gesture, threatened to unleash an argument about proper nutrition, a battle I lacked the strength to fight. I thought this was just a quick checkup, I ventured carefully, my words measured, each syllable weighted with unspoken tension. Is it necessary for her to come? Marcus's jaw tightened, a muscle rippling under his skin, a clear harbinger of his displeasure. Mom is concerned about you and the baby. She has every right to be there. His words, a chilling echo of Barbara's pervasive presence, sealed her inevitable arrival. The appointment itself was steeped in a palpable tension, my blood pressure reading, a stark testament to the escalating emotional duress, registered higher than ever before. Dr. Reynolds, her brow furrowed with genuine concern, suggested we discuss the possibility of an early induction, a medical intervention that momentarily stole my breath. Before I could even begin to process this weighty information, Barbara, with her usual audacious disregard for boundaries, interjected, barraging the doctor with a litany of questions about natural birth versus cesarean section, her voice relentless torrent of medical jargon, speaking as if I, the actual patient, were an invisible entity in the room. Natalie wants a natural birth, Marcus declared confidently, his voice resonating with an authority that belied the stark truth. We had never, not once, actually discussed my birth preferences. After the appointment, Marcus, with a chillingly casual air, announced our mode of transportation home. We'll take the bus instead of calling a rideshare. His justification, a flimsy veil over his desire for control, was delivered with a practiced ease. The walk to the bus stop will be good for your blood pressure, he insisted, completely disregarding Dr. Reynolds's explicit recommendation for rest. The bus, when it finally arrived, was a sardine can of humanity, packed to its gills with afternoon commuters, their faces etched with the weariness of the day. I stood awkwardly at the entrance, my body a cumbersome silhouette against the shifting light, one hand instinctively supporting my aching lower back, the other clutching the cold metal of the handrail, my grip white-knuckled. An elderly man, his eyes alight with kindness, immediately observed my precarious condition. Please take my seat, he offered, his voice a gentle balm. I murmured my gratitude, the words thick with emotion, as my swollen body gratefully sank onto the hard plastic seat, a momentary reprieve. Marcus and Barbara, however, remained standing, their presence a silent accusation. Barbara, ever the dramatist, made a theatrical show of sighing loudly, her movements exaggerated, shifting her weight with an aggrieved air. These young people have no respect, she muttered, her voice deliberately amplified, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. No one offers a seat to a woman my age anymore. I noticed a middle-aged woman engrossed in a book glance up, her eyes briefly meeting mine, before she, with a determined resolve, returned to her reading, a silent act of dissociation. Several other seated passengers, as if by a shared, unspoken signal, suddenly became intensely engrossed in their phones or the monotonous blur of the passing scenery, their gazes meticulously averted. 10 minutes into the ride, at a particularly crowded stop, more passengers boarded, their bodies pressing in, creating a suffocating intimacy. Barbara was jostled slightly by a teenager, his head encased in headphones, oblivious to the ripple effect of his movement. And that, in that instant, was when it happened. Marcus's face flushed a deep, alarming red, a telltale sign of his impending eruption. He lunged toward me, his hand, a vice, seizing my upper arm with enough brutal force to leave the unmistakable imprints of his fingers, bruised and aching. "Why are you sitting?" he bellowed, his voice raw, unhinged, reverberating through the suddenly silent bus, every ear now attuned to his monstrous outburst. "My mom's standing. Give up your seat now." The searing pain from his grip stunned me, a physical shock that momentarily stole my breath, but the public humiliation, a cruel, relentless tide. was infinitely worse. Dozens of strangers, their eyes wide with a mixture of shock and pity, watched as my husband, a towering, menacing figure, loomed over me, his fingers digging deeper into my flesh, his face contorted into a grotesque mask of pure, unadulterated rage. Barbara, a sinister apparition, stood directly behind him, a small, satisfied smile playing at the corners of her lips, a silent celebration of my public degradation. "I'm 9 months pregnant," I whispered, tears hot and stinging. Blurring my vision, a desperate plea for understanding. "I don't care," Marcus hissed, his voice a venomous whisper, his hand yanking violently at my arm. "Get up, Mom needs to sit down." The bus fell into an absolute chilling silence, the collective breath of its passengers held captive. A woman, clutching her toddler, instinctively pulled the child closer, shielding him from the escalating horror. The bus driver, his eyes fixed on the rearview mirror, his hand hovering precariously near the radio, seemed poised for intervention. Time itself seemed to suspend in that horrifying, eternal moment, every second stretched thin, brittle with unspoken fear. Then, from 3 rows back, a figure emerged, a woman of small stature, yet possessing an undeniable grandeur. Her silver hair, like spun moonlight, framed a face etched with the wisdom of years, and her piercing blue eyes, beacons of unwavering resolve, seemed to encompass the entire space. She stood, not with a flourish, but with a quiet dignity that somehow commanded the hushed bus. "Take your hands off her right now," she declared, her voice a calm, steady current, yet imbued with an unmistakable authority that rippled through the suffocating silence. What kind of man treats his pregnant wife this way? Marcus, momentarily stunned by this unexpected challenge, recoiled as if burned, his grip on my arm loosening, his rage momentarily eclipsed by surprise. He turned to face this formidable stranger, his jaw still clenched, his voice, though lower, still laced with an aggressive edge. "This is between me and my wife," he asserted, a possessive snarl in his tone. "My mother needs a seat." The woman, whose name I would later learn was Eleanor, moved with deliberate purpose, closing the distance until she stood directly in front of Marcus, her gaze unwavering, defiant. Despite being nearly a foot shorter, she evinced no trace of fear, her presence a silent challenge to his domineering arrogance. "There are 2 people sitting in that seat," Eleanor stated, her voice resonating with an undeniable truth, her finger pointing not at me, but at my burgeoning belly. "And neither one should stand for someone perfectly capable of standing themselves." She then pivoted, her gaze, sharp and condemning, falling upon Barbara. "Shame on you for allowing your son to treat his wife and your grandchild this way." A collective murmur erupted through the bus, a wave of low, affirming sounds, the silent agreement of witnesses finally given a voice. A man in a crisp business suit, his face etched with a quiet disapproval, rose from his seat. "I'm happy to give my seat to the older lady, if it's really necessary," he offered, his tone laden with a thinly veiled skepticism regarding Barbara's true need. Marcus, a chameleon of manipulation, instantly shifted his strategy. His public persona, the carefully cultivated facade of the charming, respectable hospital administrator, reasserted itself with practiced ease. "There's been a misunderstanding," he declared, forcing a brittle, disingenuous laugh. "My wife hasn't been feeling well, and I'm concerned about her and the baby. Mom and I are just trying to take care of her." Barbara, a grotesque echo of his deceit, swiftly adopted a mask of concerned solicitude, her features contorting into an expression of feigned worry. "We've just come from the doctor," she explained, her voice dripping with false empathy. "Her blood pressure is very high. Sometimes she doesn't make the best decisions in this condition." Their meticulously crafted attempt to reframe the horrifying tableau might have succeeded, might have swayed the hesitant gazes of the weary commuters, had Eleanor not borne witness to the entirety of the interaction, her eyes unblinking, her memory unwavering. "That's not what I saw," she stated firmly, her voice slicing through their flimsy deception. "You grabbed her. You yelled at her. You tried to force a heavily pregnant woman to stand on a moving bus." Other passengers, emboldened by Eleanor's unwavering courage, began to lend their voices to the rising chorus of dissent. "I saw him grab her arm," confirmed a young college student near the front, his voice clear and resonant. "He was hurting her," added a woman in scrubs, her voice laced with righteous indignation. "I'm a nurse. That's not how you show concern." The bus driver, a silent observer until now, had pulled the vehicle to the side of the road, the sudden halt a jarring interruption to the city's ceaseless rhythm. He rose from his seat and walked slowly back toward us, his gaze for the first time settling directly on me. "Is there a problem here? Do I need to call someone?" he asked, his voice calm, yet firm. In that singular luminous moment, surrounded by strangers, who, with an astonishing clarity, recognized the brutal truth of my reality when my own husband would not, something profound shattered and then, miraculously, reformed within me. All the small compromises, the imperceptible concessions, the insidious, gradual erosion of my independence, the calculated isolation from friends and family, the suffocating financial control, the venomous criticism disguised as care, the constant, oppressive supervision, every agonizing detail crystallized into a perfect, undeniable clarity. This was not love, this was abuse. I looked at Marcus, and the man I had married, the charming facade he once presented, dissolved into a chilling revelation. I saw him not as my beloved husband, but as someone who had systematically, meticulously dismantled my confidence and autonomy, brick by painful brick. I looked at Barbara, and the image of a concerned mother-in-law evaporated, replaced by the stark, terrifying truth of her role as an architect of my captivity, a silent co-conspirator in my imprisonment. "Yes," I said, my voice, to my own astonishment, surprisingly steady, unwavering. "There's a problem. I don't want to go home with them." Marcus's face, a canvas of shifting emotions, darkened instantaneously, a fleeting glimpse of the monster lurking beneath the polished surface. "Don't be ridiculous, Natalie," he sputtered, his voice laced with a condescending dismissal. "You're upset and hormonal. We're going home to rest, and everything will be fine." Barbara, ever his accomplice, chimed in, her voice dripping with saccharine concern. "This is exactly why you need us. You're not thinking clearly." Eleanor, a beacon of unwavering strength, stepped between us, her presence a protective barrier. "She said she doesn't want to go with you. That's her choice to make." The question hung in the air, suspended between us, a silent, weighty pronouncement. For 3 long, agonizing years, I had meticulously constructed an elaborate edifice of self-deception, convincing myself that Marcus's behavior was merely a manifestation of his love, that his control was a distorted form of protection, that his relentless criticism was simply a misguided attempt at guidance. Now, surrounded by these strangers, their eyes reflecting the stark reality I had so desperately avoided, I could no longer maintain the fragile illusion. The truth, raw and unvarnished, finally breached the walls of my denial. "No," I whispered, the word a fragile sigh of liberation. Then, gathering an unexpected strength, I repeated it, louder, firmer. "No, I don't." "This is absurd," Marcus sputtered, his voice laced with a desperate incredulity. "She's my wife. She's carrying my child." "She's a person making her own decision," Eleanor countered, her voice resonating with an unshakable conviction. "And I'm offering her an alternative place to stay tonight." I looked at this stranger, this woman who, without a moment's hesitation, was risking her own comfort, her own safety, to extend a lifeline to me, and in her unwavering resolve, I felt a surge of trust more profound, more authentic than anything I had experienced within my own home for months. Without another word, a silent, defiant act of liberation, I rose from the seat, my pregnant body moving with a newfound grace, and walked past Marcus and Barbara, their faces contorted in a mixture of disbelief and impotent rage. I followed Eleanor toward the exit, each step a testament to my burgeoning freedom. "You'll regret this," Marcus called after me, his voice a venomous whisper of threat. "You have nowhere to go. You have no money. You need us." His words, once potent weapons of control, now echoed with a hollow emptiness. I kept walking, one hand instinctively, protectively covering my belly, the other clutching the small, unassuming business card Eleanor had pressed into my palm, a tangible symbol of my new, uncertain path. Behind us, the bus driver's voice, calm and authoritative, cut through the tense silence. "Mr. Wilson, you need to calm down, or I'll call the police." As we stepped off the bus, emerging from the suffocating confines of its interior into the liberating expanse of the afternoon sunlight, I inhaled deeply, drawing in my first truly free breath in years, a profound and exhilarating lungful of unadulterated air. The initial hours after escaping the confines of that bus were a disorienting maelstrom of raw adrenaline and paralyzing fear. The blurry landscape, painted with the vibrant hues of uncertainty. Eleanor, a silent, unwavering guide, steered me gently towards a quaint, unassuming cafe nestled 2 blocks away, its soft light a welcoming beacon in the burgeoning twilight of my newfound freedom. Her steady hand on my elbow, a grounding presence amidst the internal chaos, provided more genuine support and comfort than I had experienced in what felt like an eternity. "You're shaking," she observed quietly, her voice imbued with a gentle understanding, as she ordered a steaming cup of chamomile tea, its fragrant steam rising like a calming prayer. "That's normal. Your body is processing a trauma response." Once settled into the privacy of a secluded corner booth, Eleanor finally introduced herself, her words a soothing balm to my frayed nerves. "I'm Eleanor Griffith. I was a domestic violence counselor for 30 years before retiring. I still volunteer at the women's shelter downtown." Her explanation, delivered with a quiet authority, of how she had so swiftly recognized the insidious signs of abuse, resonated with a chilling clarity. The way he grabbed you, the public humiliation, the immediate attempt to make you seem irrational when challenged, the financial threats as you left, she elucidated, her voice a calm dissection of my recent past. "These are textbook abuser tactics." I sat in stunned silence, the word abuser echoing in the cavernous chambers of my mind, a foreign, unwelcome intruder. It was a term I had never, not once, dared to associate with Marcus, the seemingly respectable hospital administrator, the charming man who effortlessly captivated every person he encountered. Yet Eleanor, with a precision born of decades of experience, had in mere minutes identified a truth I had, for years, remained tragically blind to. "Where can I take you?" Eleanor inquired gently, her voice devoid of judgment, offering a lifeline of possibilities. "Parents? Friends?" I shook my head, tears, hot and insistent, blurring my vision. "Marcus isolated me from everyone," I choked out, the words a raw confession. "My parents live in New Hampshire now, and we haven't spoken regularly in months. And my friends, I don't even know if they'd still consider me friends." Eleanor nodded, her understanding palpable, her gaze brimming with empathy. "Then you'll come home with me tonight. Tomorrow we can connect you with resources and make a longer-term plan." My phone, a constant, buzzing torment, had been vibrating incessantly since we had disembarked from the bus. 23 missed calls from Marcus, 11 from Barbara, and dozens of increasingly threatening text messages, painted a grim picture of their escalating desperation. "You're being ridiculous. Come home now. Think about the baby, Natalie. You're putting our child at risk. Your parents won't take you in. I already called them. Without me, you have nothing. Remember that." Eleanor, sensing my distress, gently suggested I power off my phone. As the screen dissolved into an inky blackness, a profound wave of both terror and exhilarating relief washed over me. Eleanor's apartment, though small, was a testament to meticulous care, its walls lined with towering bookshelves, a silent library of human experience. A ginger cat, Rusty, its fur a vibrant flame, regarded me with a cautious curiosity, before cautiously approaching, its soft purr a comforting rumble against the lingering silence. "The guest room is through there," she indicated, gesturing towards a narrow hallway. "It's not much, but it's safe." The room itself was Spartan in its simplicity, a modest twin bed adorned with a vibrant patchwork quilt, a small, unassuming dresser. Yet, within its unassuming confines, a profound liberation awaited. There were no criticisms of my movements, no intrusive questioning of my decisions, no Barbara meticulously rearranging my belongings, imposing her rigid will upon my personal space. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, I could exhale fully, deeply, the very act of breathing, a tangible manifestation of my newfound freedom. "When was the last time you ate?" Eleanor inquired, her voice warm with genuine concern, already moving towards her kitchen, the familiar clatter of pots and pans a comforting sound. I realized, with a start, that I hadn't eaten since a meager breakfast that morning. Eleanor, with the quiet grace of a seasoned caregiver, prepared a simple meal, fluffy scrambled eggs and perfectly toasted bread. She watched with a grandmotherly satisfaction as I, famished beyond measure, devoured 2 generous helpings. That night, despite the unfamiliar surroundings and the profound discomfort of my enormous belly, I succumbed to a deep, restorative sleep. No one burst into the room to scrutinize my sleeping posture, to ensure I was positioned correctly for the baby's well-being. No one monitored my trips to the bathroom or dictated my water intake. The silence, profound and unbroken, was a balm to my raw, wounded spirit, a powerful testament to the healing power of peace. Morning light, diffused and gentle, ushered in a fresh wave of anxiety, a stark contrast to the feeling silence of the night. Eleanor, her presence a steady anchor in my swirling emotions, helped me cautiously reactivate my phone. The screen flickered to life, immediately assaulted by a relentless barrage of messages that had persisted through the night, their tone evolving from raw anger to manipulative desperation. "I've been driving all night looking for you. The doctor called. Your condition is dangerous for the baby. If you care about our child, you'll come home now. I've contacted a lawyer. You can't keep my child from me." Most disturbing, however, were the insidious messages Marcus had disseminated to mutual acquaintances, weaving a chilling narrative of my mental instability, blaming it on supposed pregnancy complications. "He's trying to control the narrative," Eleanor explained, her voice devoid of judgment. Abusers often try to isolate their victims by turning others against them. With Eleanor's calm, practiced guidance, I composed a single, defiant text to Marcus. "I am safe. I need space. Please don't contact me." Then, with a profound sense of empowerment, we blocked his number and Barbara's, severing the digital tether that had bound me to their control. Eleanor's first call that morning was to Rachel Winters, a domestic violence advocate with whom she had collaborated for years, a woman known for her quiet strength and unwavering dedication. Rachel arrived within the hour, not empty-handed, but bearing gifts of profound significance: prenatal vitamins, a few comfortable maternity clothes, and a wealth of information, a roadmap to my liberation. "First priority is your safety and the baby's health," Rachel stated, her voice efficient, her priorities crystal clear. Then we'll work on a legal protection order, emergency housing, and reconnecting you with your support system. She meticulously outlined the myriad resources available through the women's shelter, including dedicated legal advocates who possessed a nuanced understanding of the intricate complexities inherent in escaping an abusive relationship while pregnant. Massachusetts has strong laws protecting domestic violence survivors, she assured me, her words a soothing balm to my lingering fear, including pregnant women. Rachel, with remarkable efficiency, arranged for me to be seen by Dr. Sarah Chen, an obstetrician affiliated with the shelter, that very afternoon. In a small, welcoming office, bathed in a soft, reassuring light, Dr. Chin conducted a thorough and gentle examination. Your blood pressure is still elevated, she noted, her gaze kind. But better than your records from yesterday indicate. The baby's heartbeat is strong, and your cervix isn't showing signs of early labor. That's all positive. Unlike my previous appointments, which had been fraught with the suffocating presence of Marcus and Barbara, Dr. Chin addressed me directly, explaining every test, seeking my explicit consent before each procedure. She listened to my nascent birth preferences without a trace of judgment, helping me to craft a flexible birth plan, a blueprint for the arrival of my daughter that was finally truly my own. Stress reduction is my primary prescription for you right now, she concluded firmly, her gaze unwavering. And that means keeping yourself away from your stressors. That evening, buoyed by Eleanor's quiet encouragement, I undertook the most difficult call of my life. My parents, their love a constant, unwavering force, had left 3 bewildered voicemails, clearly perplexed by Marcus's twisted version of events. "Mom," I choked out when she answered, my voice raw with emotion, a fragile thread of sound. "I need help." The story, a torrent of suppressed pain and revelation, poured out of me. 3 years of gradual control and insidious manipulation, culminating in the horrific spectacle on the bus. My mother listened in stunned silence, her occasional, piercing questions cutting through the emotional haze, seeking clarity amidst the chaos. "We're coming to Boston tomorrow," she declared when I had finally finished, her nurse's voice, though tinged with deep emotion, remaining remarkably steady. "Your father is already packing the car. Marcus said he called you," I ventured hesitantly, a lingering doubt clinging to my words. "He did," Mom confirmed, her voice hardening with a newfound resolve. "He said you were having pregnancy complications affecting your mental state, that you'd run off with a stranger, and he was worried about your safety." Her voice, now laced with a steely conviction, rose slightly. "I knew something wasn't right. You've never been irrational, pregnant or not." The profound relief of being believed, of not having to defend my sanity, of having my lived experience validated without question, brought forth a fresh cascade of tears, not of sorrow, but of profound, cleansing release. For months, Marcus and Barbara had relentlessly insisted that my concerns were mere products of pregnancy hormones, that my memory was faulty, my perceptions distorted. To have someone trust my experience, unequivocally, was a deeply healing balm to my wounded spirit. "We'll be there by noon tomorrow," Mom promised, her voice resonating with an unwavering commitment. "And Natalie, I'm so sorry we didn't see what was happening sooner." That night, as Eleanor and I shared a comforting cup of tea in her cozy living room, bathed in the soft glow of a table lamp, she asked the question I had, until now, meticulously avoided. "What do you want to happen now?" The future loomed before me, a vast, uncertain expanse, terrifying in its boundless possibilities. I placed both hands on my belly, feeling the rhythmic, reassuring kicks of my daughter, a silent affirmation of life. "I want to be safe," I said slowly, each word deliberate, imbued with newfound purpose. "I want my daughter to grow up seeing her mother treated with respect. I want to rebuild my life without fear." Eleanor nodded, her gaze warm, understanding. "Then that's where we'll start." The process of obtaining an emergency protective order was a paradoxical blend of empowerment and terror. 2 days after my courageous departure from Marcus, I found myself seated in a hushed courtroom, flanked by Rachel, the steadfast domestic violence advocate, and Leslie Taylor, a formidable pro bono attorney from the Women's Legal Aid Society. Her presence, a silent promise of legal protection. The restraining order will prohibit Marcus from contacting you directly or through others, Leslie explained, her voice calm and authoritative. It will also establish temporary custody of the baby once she's born. The meticulous paperwork demanded I detail the abuse in stark clinical terms: the terrifying bus incident, the insidious financial control, the calculated isolation from my cherished friends and family, the relentless monitoring of my every movement, the constant, veiled criticism disguised as concern. When meticulously transcribed onto paper, the insidious pattern of control became undeniable, a chilling testament to his systematic dismantling of my autonomy. "Will the judge believe me?" I asked, a tremor of doubt in my voice. There aren't many bruises. The telltale fingerprints on my arm had already faded to faint yellowing smudges, ephemeral evidence of a deeper wound. "Abuse isn't just physical," Leslie assured me, her gaze steady, reassuring. "Massachusetts courts recognize emotional and financial abuse as domestic violence." The emergency hearing was granted that very afternoon, a swift testament to the urgency of my situation. Walking into the solemn courtroom, I froze momentarily. A sharp intake of breath catching in my throat, my eyes locking onto Marcus and Barbara, already seated with their attorney, a polished, formidable woman draped in an expensive suit. Marcus, a master of deception, had shed his aggressive demeanor, replacing it with the carefully cultivated facade of a concerned, heartbroken husband, complete with dark circles under his eyes, meticulously crafted to suggest sleepless worry. Leslie squeezed my hand, her touch a silent reassurance, grounding me in the present moment. "Remember," she whispered, "the judge sees these tactics every day." When called to testify, I recounted the bus incident in agonizing detail, my voice, initially trembling, gaining an unexpected strength, each word a reclaiming of my truth. The judge, a stern woman with reading glasses perched on her nose, listened intently, her gaze piercing, asking direct, pointed questions about the pervasive pattern of control that had preceded that fateful day. Marcus's attorney, a viper in designer clothing, attempted to paint me as emotionally unstable, a victim of my own volatile pregnancy hormones, suggesting I had wildly misinterpreted Marcus's loving, caring actions as controlling. "Mrs. Wilson has a history of anxiety," she claimed, her voice smooth, insidious. She claimed her husband and mother-in-law were simply trying to ensure a healthy pregnancy. Barbara, a grotesque parody of maternal concern, testified next, meticulously presenting herself as a devoted, selfless grandmother-to-be who had sacrificed everything to help her son and daughter-in-law prepare for the arrival of their baby. "Natalie has been increasingly paranoid," she stated, her voice imbued with a false empathy. "We've been walking on eggshells around her mood swings." When Marcus took the stand, he delivered a theatrical performance, portraying himself as a devoted, loving husband, blindsided by my irrational, inexplicable behavior. "I've given Natalie everything," he insisted, his voice catching theatrically, feigning a profound emotional distress. "I only want her and our baby to come home where they belong." Leslie, a surgical force of legal acumen, methodically dismantled their carefully constructed narrative during cross-examination, highlighting the undeniable financial control, the chilling isolation, and the pervasive surveillance that had characterized our marriage. She presented damning printouts of the threatening text messages Marcus had sent after my departure, their words a stark contrast to his feigned concern. "Are these the messages of a concerned husband?" she asked, her voice a whip crack, "or someone angry about losing control?" The judge, her expression unreadable, meticulously reviewed the voluminous evidence, her gaze sweeping across the documents in a silence that seemed to stretch into eternity. After what felt like an interminable period, she delivered her verdict, her voice clear and decisive. She granted the emergency protective order. Based on the evidence presented, she stated, her words resonating with the weight of legal authority, I find reasonable cause to believe Miss Wilson is in immediate danger of abuse. The order, a lifeline of protection, would remain in effect until the full hearing the following month. Marcus's face, for a fleeting moment, darkened, a flicker of pure rage before he swiftly reassumed his facade of concerned bewilderment. As we exited the courtroom, I heard his voice, low and confident, addressing his attorney. She'll come back. She has nowhere else to go. He, in his arrogance, gravely underestimated the formidable support network that was rapidly coalescing around me. Eleanor, a steadfast sentinel of sanctuary, continued to provide me with safe housing, her quiet strength a constant comfort. My parents, their unwavering love a beacon in my darkest hours, arrived from New Hampshire, renting a small apartment nearby so they could remain indefinitely, their presence a palpable sense of security. Former colleagues from my teaching days, their hearts touched by the unsettling rumors surrounding my abrupt departure, reached out, offering everything from much-needed maternity clothes to invaluable job leads. Most surprisingly, Stephanie, my dearest friend from whom Marcus had systematically isolated me, appeared at Eleanor's door, her arms laden with groceries, her eyes brimming with a heartfelt apology. I should have tried harder to stay in touch, she confessed, hugging me awkwardly around my enormous belly. Her embrace a tangible bridge to my past. I knew something wasn't right. Marcus, a puppet master of malicious intent, was far from idle during this period of legal and personal upheaval. He initiated a venomous counter-narrative, meticulously disseminated through mutual acquaintances and, more chillingly, across social media platforms. He meticulously portrayed himself as a devoted, heartbroken husband whose mentally unstable wife had been cruelly manipulated by radical feminists at a women's shelter. Barbara, his loyal accomplice, relentlessly contacted my extended family, weaving a fantastical tale that I had inexplicably joined a cult-like group that turned women against their families. Some, tragically, believed their insidious lies, their judgment clouded by the carefully constructed deception. Others, however, with a clearer vision, recognized the classic tactics of an abuser and courageously reached out to offer unwavering support, their empathy a lifeline. My former principal, a woman of profound integrity, called to offer a quiet reassurance. The Marcus they're describing doesn't match the Natalie I know. How can I help? Her words, a powerful affirmation of my true character, bolstered my resolve. 3 weeks after my dramatic departure from Marcus, amidst a preliminary hearing for the permanent restraining order, a subtle yet profound tremor rippled through my body. I felt the first contraction. I attempted to ignore it, to push it to the periphery of my consciousness, my focus intently fixed on Leslie's incisive questioning of Marcus's financial records, which, with damning clarity, revealed how he had systematically seized control of my earnings and assets. When a second, stronger contraction hit 10 minutes later, a sharper, more insistent pang, I instinctively clutched my mother's hand, my knuckles white against her warm skin. I think I'm in labor, I whispered, the words a breathless confession. The judge, her gaze sharp and perceptive, instantly registering my distress, swiftly called a brief recess. In the sterile confines of the courthouse bathroom, my water broke in a dramatic, undeniable gush that soaked my maternity dress and pooled around my feet, a visceral announcement of impending arrival. Your Honor, my client needs to be transported to the hospital immediately, Leslie announced, her voice resonating with urgency as we returned to the courtroom. She's in active labor. Marcus, his face contorted in a mixture of panic and possessiveness, immediately stood. That's my child. I have a right to be there. A judge, her hand raised, a silent command for order, cut him off. The emergency order remains in effect, Mr. Wilson. You are not to approach Miss Wilson at the hospital or anywhere else. Leslie, ever prepared, had already meticulously coordinated with the hospital security team, anticipating this very moment of potential confrontation. As my parents swiftly ushered me towards Massachusetts General Hospital, Rachel, a guardian angel of advocacy, called ahead, activating the pre-established safety protocol for domestic violence survivors, ensuring my protection within the sterile walls of the medical institution. Labor progressed with astonishing rapidity, my body, perhaps eager to shed the immense stress of the preceding weeks, pushing forward with an almost fierce determination. The delivery room, bathed in a soft ethereal light, became my sanctuary. My mother on one side, her hand a comforting presence, and Eleanor on the other, her gaze unwavering, her quiet strength a profound source of reassurance. Dr. Chin, her voice calm and soothing, expertly guided me through each contraction, respecting my carefully articulated birth preferences while meticulously ensuring medical safety. "You're doing beautifully, Natalie," she encouraged, her voice imbued with a quiet confidence as I entered the intense transition phase. "Your daughter is almost here." After 4 arduous hours of labor, with one final primal push, my daughter, my precious Lily, entered the world, her tiny lungs announcing her presence, with a powerful, indignant cry that seemed to reverberate through the very universe itself. Dr. Chin, with a gesture of profound tenderness, placed her immediately on my chest, her tiny body, warm and wriggling, a tangible miracle against my skin. "Hello, Lily," I whispered, the name I had chosen independently, a deliberate act of defiance against Marcus and Barbara's oppressive influence. "We're going to be okay." The hospital staff, meticulously briefed on my fraught situation, had discreetly positioned security personnel near my room. Their presence a silent, unwavering shield. Their vigilance proved tragically necessary when, a mere 6 hours after Lily's birth, Marcus, with a chilling audacity, attempted to breach the sanctity of the maternity ward. "I'm here to see my daughter," he declared to the nurse at the station, his voice, though modulated, carrying down the hallway to my room, a jarring intrusion into our fragile peace. "I'm sorry, sir," the charge nurse responded firmly, her voice unwavering, "but there's a protective order in place. You'll need to leave immediately." Marcus's voice, a familiar harbinger of escalating anger, rose. "That's my child in there. You can't keep me from seeing my own child." Security personnel, their movements swift and decisive, arrived moments later, escorting him from the floor as he continued his futile protests. Argara, a grotesque echo of his desperate attempts, made her own foray an hour later, bearing an ostentatious bouquet of flowers, and falsely claiming to be on the approved visitor list. She was just as swiftly turned away. "You don't understand," I heard her arguing, her voice shrill with indignation. "I'm the grandmother. I have rights too." The security guard's response was professional, yet imbued with an unwavering firmness. "Ma'am, the only rights that matter right now are the mother's right to safety and the child's right to protection. Please leave before we need to involve the police." In the quiet aftermath, holding Lily as she slept peacefully in my arms, her tiny chest rising and falling with innocent regularity, I felt a profound duality of emotion, an overwhelming joy tempered by a lingering, visceral fear. Marcus had, in his desperate attempts, made it abundantly clear that he would not relinquish control easily. The journey ahead, I knew with a chilling certainty, would be fraught with challenges, a winding path paved with legal battles and emotional skirmishes. But looking at my daughter's perfect, unblemished face, a tiny beacon of hope cradled in my arms, I knew with an absolute, unshakable certainty that I had made the right decision. Whatever trials lay ahead, we would face them, together, with dignity and an unbreakable strength. The initial weeks of motherhood, cradling my precious Lily were a tender, bittersweet symphony of profound joy and gentle, incremental healing. Lily, a serene marvel, proved to be a surprisingly calm baby, her tiny head adorned with a luxuriant crown of dark hair. Her curious blue eyes, like twin pools of nascent wonder, seemed to absorb every nuanced detail of the world unfurling around her. My parents, steadfast in their unwavering love, and Eleanor, a quiet sentinel of wisdom, wove an unbreakable circle of protection around us, a sacred space that allowed me to immerse myself fully in the primal, beautiful act of bonding with Lily, and to embark upon the arduous yet essential journey of recovering from the profound physical and emotional ordeal of childbirth. Every delicate diaper change, every nourishing feeding, every almost imperceptible yet monumental tiny milestone belonged solely to us, untainted by Barbara's insidious criticisms or Marcus's suffocating, controlling supervision. When Lily, at a mere 3 weeks old, graced me with her very first ethereal smile, a crescent moon of pure, unadulterated joy, I wept, tears streaming down my face, overwhelmed by the sheer, unburdened delight of witnessing such a sacred moment without anyone diminishing its inherent magic. "She's smiling at me," I told my mother, the words thick with emotion, not gas. My mother, her eyes brimming with a profound understanding, simply nodded. "Of course she is," she affirmed, her voice a gentle balm. She knows exactly who her mother is. These small yet profoundly powerful validations served as vital building blocks, meticulously rebuilding my confidence, which had been systematically, ruthlessly dismantled during the long, agonizing years of my marriage. Slowly, tentatively, I began to trust my own instincts again, both as a mother, guided by an innate wisdom, and as a woman, reclaiming my authentic self. In parallel with these cherished, peaceful moments, the relentless machinery of the legal battles continued its grinding progress. Leslie, my tenacious attorney, meticulously filed for divorce, citing grounds of cruel and abusive treatment, a formal declaration of the emotional war I had endured. Concurrently, she petitioned for primary custody of Lily, advocating fiercely for my right to protect our fragile, nascent peace. Marcus, predictably, countered with an aggressive, unyielding ferocity, seeking not just joint physical custody, but audaciously challenging the very veracity of my abuse allegations. He's claiming the bus incident was an isolated event, caused by concern for his mother, Leslie explained during one of our exhaustive strategy sessions, her voice weary yet resolute. "And that your subsequent actions demonstrate parental alienation." Marcus, true to his controlling nature, had enlisted the services of Preston Jacobs, a high-profile divorce attorney notorious for representing affluent clients in contentious custody battles. His legal strategy, a transparent attempt at character assassination, became chillingly apparent during depositions, where he ruthlessly attempted to portray me as mentally unstable and financially incapable of adequately providing for Lily's well-being. "How do you plan to support your daughter without employment or savings?" Preston questioned, his tone dripping with condescension, the rhetorical question designed to underscore my supposed helplessness. "I'm recertifying my teaching license," I replied, my voice remarkably steady, unwavering. "And I have family support while I establish independence." Barbara's malevolent involvement further complicated matters. She filed a separate, audacious petition for grandparent visitation rights, brazenly claiming a significant pre-existing relationship with Lily, a ludicrous assertion, given she had never, not once, actually met her. Massachusetts law doesn't favor grandparent rights over parental objections without exceptional circumstances, Leslie assured me, her voice a soothing antidote to my rising anxiety. But we need to address it formally. The courtroom, a battleground of emotional attrition, transformed into a theater of deception, where Marcus and Barbara, with practiced ease, attempted to rewrite the painful narrative of our shared history. They summoned character witnesses, their voices carefully modulated, who painted a distorted portrait of Marcus as a devoted, generous husband, while simultaneously suggesting I had been increasingly erratic, unstable, during my pregnancy. Our side, a bulwark against their fabrications, countered with compelling testimony from Dr. Chin, who elucidated the profound physical impacts of emotional abuse during pregnancy, connecting the dots between my escalating blood pressure and the insidious control I had endured. We presented impassioned statements from bus passengers, who, with their unvarnished honesty, bore witness to the public humiliation on that fateful day. Furthermore, we submitted irrefutable documentation of the relentless financial control Marcus had so systematically exerted. Eleanor's testimony, however, proved to be the most singularly powerful. As a retired domestic violence counselor, her voice resonating with decades of empathetic wisdom, she provided an expert, irrefutable context for the insidious patterns of isolation and control I had experienced. What I witnessed on that bus wasn't an isolated incident, she stated firmly, her gaze sweeping across the courtroom, encompassing every skeptical face. It was the public culmination of an established pattern of abuse. While these arduous legal proceedings unfolded, a parallel, more profoundly healing journey was underway, my unwavering focus on creating a new sanctuary for Lily and myself. With the unwavering support of my parents, their love a constant, guiding force, I discovered a small, unassuming two-bedroom apartment in a secure building, its welcoming facade a promise of safety. The property management company, remarkably, specialized in assisting domestic violence survivors, and thus possessed a nuanced understanding of the paramount importance of confidentiality and stringent security protocols. Moving in with only the scant few belongings I had managed to salvage from Marcus's house was a paradoxically liberating and daunting experience. Starting over at 29, with a vulnerable newborn and an apartment devoid of furniture, initially overwhelmed me, threatening to swallow me whole in a tide of despair. "We'll build it piece by piece," my father reassured me, his voice a comforting balm, as he arrived with a battered truck, its bed laden with a second-hand crib he had meticulously refurbished, a tangible symbol of new beginnings. Friends from my teaching days, their compassion a guiding light, orchestrated a belated yet deeply meaningful baby shower, showering me with essential supplies and thoughtful decorations for the apartment, each gift a testament to enduring friendship. Stephanie, my dearest friend, her eyes brimming with a quiet remorse, helped me paint the nursery a soft, soothing green, meticulously stenciling whimsical woodland animals along one wall. "This is so much better than that pink monstrosity Barbara was creating," she commented, referring to the garish nursery I had described from my old oppressive home, her words a subtle validation of my own suppressed aesthetic. Security, however, remained a constant, gnawing concern. Marcus had been observed driving past Eleanor's apartment on several occasions, his presence a chilling reminder of his lingering malevolence. Once, with a brazen audacity, he attempted to follow my mother when she was out with Lily, a terrifying encroachment upon our fragile peace. The building's robust security features, including limited access entry and surveillance cameras, provided a measure of peace of mind. Yet I still instinctively checked the peephole twice, my heart thrumming with a residual anxiety before opening my door. Financial independence, the cornerstone of my newfound freedom, became my next, most urgent priority. With Lily napping peacefully in a bassinet beside my desk, her soft, rhythmic breaths a comforting presence, I diligently completed the online courses required to renew my teaching certification. The rigorous process, surprisingly, rekindled a long-dormant passion for education, a love that Marcus had subtly, yet effectively, devalued throughout our marriage. Rather than immediately returning to a traditional classroom setting, I accepted a position developing online curriculum for a burgeoning virtual education company. The role, a serendipitous blessing, allowed me the invaluable flexibility of working from home while simultaneously caring for Lily, meticulously building both my resume and my financial stability. My first independent paycheck, a modest sum compared to the lavish household income I had once shared with Marcus, brought tears of profound pride to my eyes. Every single dollar represented not just economic sustenance, but a tangible, undeniable fragment of my hard-won freedom, a stark contrast to the suffocating dependence that had once defined my life. Unveiling, a beacon of self-discovery, became an indispensable cornerstone of my recovery. Through weekly sessions with Dr. Rivera, a compassionate therapist specializing in domestic abuse recovery, I began the arduous, yet profoundly liberating process of recognizing how Marcus had so gradually, so insidiously, normalized controlling behavior, weaving it into the very fabric of our lives, until it became indistinguishable from love. Abuse often escalates so incrementally that each new boundary crossed doesn't seem significantly worse than the last, Dr. Rivera explained, her voice gentle yet incisive. It's like the frog in slowly heating water, unaware of the danger until it's too late to jump out. We meticulously worked through the crushing guilt I had carried for not leaving sooner, the profound shame of having missed the glaring warning signs, and the persistent, unbidden fear that continued to surface in unexpected moments, a phantom limb of my past trauma. Through group therapy sessions with other courageous survivors, I discovered a profound sense of validation and an enduring strength in shared experiences. I used to believe I was alone in not recognizing abuse, disguised as care. I confessed to the group during one particularly poignant session. Now I understand how common these patterns are. 6 months after that pivotal decision to leave Marcus, the court's decision regarding custody and the divorce proceedings finally arrived. A monumental step towards the future. The judge, in a decisive ruling, granted me primary physical custody, with Marcus receiving limited, supervised visitation, meticulously scheduled to begin only once Lily turned 1 year old. Barbara's audacious petition for grandparent rights was summarily denied. Her enabling role in the abusive relationship unequivocally documented and recognized by the court. The financial settlement, a partial restitution for my losses, included child support and a portion of our marital assets. Though Marcus, ever the conniver, had managed to conceal some funds, a final petty act of defiance. The divorce itself was granted on grounds of cruel and abusive treatment, a profound validation of my lived experience, etched into official court records for all time. When Leslie called with the momentous news, I found myself seated on my small balcony, bathed in the tranquil hues of the setting sun, Lily sleeping peacefully indoors, her innocent dreams untouched by the lingering shadows of our past. The relief, when it finally washed over me, wasn't an immediate euphoria, but a quiet, profound unfurling of tension, a slow, gentle unraveling of the tightly wound anxiety I had carried for months. It's official, I whispered to my sleeping daughter later that night, my voice thick with emotion. We're free to build our own story now. Marcus's final, pathetic attempt to exert control manifested through a carefully worded email, dispatched only after the court's definitive decision. "This isn't over," he wrote, his words a faint echo of his former tyranny. "A piece of paper doesn't change that she's my daughter too." Instead of dignifying his threat with a response, I forwarded the message to Leslie, a silent testament to my unwavering boundaries, and then, with a resolute click, I blocked his email address. His empty threats, once potent weapons of fear, now held no power over me. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I had proven to myself and to Lily that we possessed the inherent dignity and unwavering strength to face them together. 3 years have gracefully unfolded since that fateful, transformative day on the bus. Lily, a radiant beacon of joy, recently celebrated her third birthday, a vibrant tableau of laughter and innocent delight, amidst a small, intimate party in our charming garden apartment. Our home, now a sanctuary of unconditional love, was filled with friends who have become, in every meaningful sense, family. Watching her blow out the candles, her dark curls bouncing with unbridled excitement, I barely recognized a fearful, defeated woman I once was, a ghost of a past self. Lily has blossomed into a confident, endlessly curious little girl who embraces dinosaurs and ballet with equal, unbridled passion. Her bedroom walls are a whimsical testament to her unique spirit, adorned with both delicate tutus and fierce Tyrannosaurus Rex posters, her choices unburdened by restrictive gender expectations or controlling influences. She speaks in full, articulate sentences now, often surprising me with profound observations that reveal her astute understanding of the world. "Mommy's strong," she declared recently, her tiny voice clear and resonant as she watched me confidently assemble a bookshelf without assistance. The simple phrase, delivered with a child's unfiltered honesty, held more validation than any empty compliment I had ever received during my marriage to Marcus. Our new life bears scant resemblance to the rigidly controlled environment Marcus and Barbara had meticulously constructed. Our modest, yet deeply cherished three-bedroom house, nestled in a vibrant, family-friendly neighborhood, offers Lily a sprawling backyard for boundless exploration, and me a dedicated home office for my rapidly expanding educational consulting business. I have meticulously rebuilt my credit, diligently established a substantial savings, and, with a profound sense of triumph, recently qualified for a mortgage independently, a financial achievement that once seemed an unattainable dream. Eleanor, my unwavering mentor and confidant, has become family in every meaningful way. After that first night of sanctuary in her apartment, our connection deepened, forging an unbreakable bond that defies simple categorization. She visits weekly for cherished Sunday dinners, her presence a comforting ritual, reading enchanting stories to Lily and sharing invaluable wisdom gleaned from her decades of tirelessly helping women rebuild their shattered lives. "You know, I've worked with hundreds of survivors," Eleanor confided in me on Lily's second birthday, her voice thick with emotion. "But watching you and Lily thrive has been one of the greatest privileges of my life." At 81, Eleanor remains remarkably active, though she now walks with a distinguished cane adorned with colorful ribbons Lily meticulously selected, each one a tiny testament to their special bond. She has become the grandmother figure Lily deserves, a bastion of unconditional love, offered without a trace of criticism or control. "Granny L knows everything," Lily often announces, her voice filled with an almost reverent awe. Presenting Eleanor with treasures discovered in the garden or profound questions about the vast, mysterious universe. My work, a profound extension of my own healing journey, emerged organically from the crucible of my personal recovery. 2 years ago, I began volunteering at the very same shelter that had extended a lifeline to me during those fragile, terrifying early days after leaving Marcus. Initially, I simply shared my story with women facing similar harrowing circumstances, offering living, breathing proof that independence, even with a child, was not merely a distant dream, but a tangible, achievable reality. This evolved organically into facilitating a vibrant support group specifically designed for mothers navigating the arduous process of leaving abusive relationships. Mothering After Manipulation meets weekly in a bright, welcoming room filled with the cheerful sounds of children playing and the quiet hum of women rebuilding their lives. When I left, I didn't know anyone who had successfully started over with a baby. I explained to the shelter director when proposing the group, my voice brimming with conviction. I want to be that example for others. The profound transformation from survivor to advocate has proven healing in unexpected, miraculous ways. Each woman who finds her voice, who reclaims her inherent strength, serves as a powerful reminder of my own arduous journey. Each child who begins to laugh more freely, whose spirit is unbound by the stifling tension of an abusive home, echoes Lily's joyful development away from the omnipresent shadow of control. Last month, I expanded this sacred work, launching an online resource, a digital lifeline connecting mothers with invaluable legal advocates, essential housing assistance, and empowering employment opportunities. The website, a testament to resilience, includes inspiring success stories and practical, empathetic guides for navigating the challenging, yet ultimately liberating first year of independence. My relationship with myself has, perhaps, undergone the most profound healing of all. The insidious voice in my head that once echoed Marcus's cruel, demeaning criticisms has gradually, mercifully, been replaced with a compassionate, confident inner dialogue. I no longer second-guess basic decisions, nor do I offer apologies for merely existing, for taking up the space that is rightfully mine. Simple pleasures Marcus once derided as frivolous have gracefully returned to my life, reclaiming their rightful place. I sing loudly, uninhibitedly, while cooking, my voice a joyous cacophony. I wear clothing chosen for its comfort and authenticity, rather than seeking external approval. I make decisions rooted in my own values, unburdened by the paralyzing fear of criticism. My body, which carried both the precious weight of Lily and the insidious physical manifestations of chronic stress, has slowly, yet resolutely, recovered its innate strength. Yoga and invigorating hikes have replaced the restrictive, joyless exercise regimen Marcus once imposed upon me. The woman who now meets my gaze in the mirror does so with a steady, confident resolve, no longer searching for the imagined flaws Barbara would inevitably point out. Trust remains a delicate work in progress, a fragile tapestry being meticulously rewoven. Dating has not been a priority, though well-meaning friends occasionally suggest introductions, their intentions pure. My therapist assures me that this caution is healthy, a vital act of self-preservation, not a detriment to my future. You're re-establishing your relationship with yourself first, she observed, her voice insightful. That's the foundation for any healthy future relationship. Marcus himself has faded to the periphery of our lives, a dwindling shadow, though not without his lingering, petty acts of resistance. After losing the custody battle, he maintained his limited, supervised visitation for a mere 6 months, before gradually, predictably, canceling sessions, his interest waning with the loss of control. His child support payments arrive irregularly, a testament to his continued disregard for legal obligations, despite clear court orders. Last year, during a rare perfunctory conversation regarding Lily's preschool enrollment, Marcus offered what might be considered a fleeting, limited acknowledgement of harm. "I didn't understand what I was doing," he said quietly, his voice devoid of true remorse. "I thought I was protecting my family." The statement, hollow and inadequate, fell far short of a genuine apology, yet it revealed a limited, albeit grudging, recognition of his egregious behavior. According to mutual acquaintances, Marcus remains inextricably tied to Barbara, his life a puppet show choreographed by her relentless control. Together, they continue to present themselves as victims of an unfair legal system that, in their distorted narrative, cruelly separated them from their child. While I once yearned for validation from Marcus, his hollow acknowledgement no longer defines my reality. The truth of our shared experience is indelibly documented in official court records, witnessed by compassionate strangers on a crowded bus, and is powerfully evident in the emotional freedom Lily displays, a vibrant contrast to the fear that shackles children raised in controlling environments. Barbara occasionally attempts contact through third parties, dispatching gifts that are returned unopened, or making spurious claims about family medical history that might impact Lily. These futile efforts at re-establishing connection are swiftly and decisively addressed through established legal channels, rather than direct, emotionally draining engagement. Louie herself has flourished beyond my most hopeful expectations, a vibrant testament to resilience and the enduring power of love. At 3, she demonstrates an emotional intelligence and a healthy capacity for boundary setting that many adults struggle to achieve. When overwhelmed, she communicates her feelings with a remarkable clarity, her tiny voice a beacon of self-awareness. When happy, her entire being radiates an infectious joy, illuminating every corner of our lives. "No thank you," she stated firmly to a persistent playmate recently, her small voice imbued with an astonishing clarity for a toddler, establishing her boundaries with an innate wisdom. Watching her advocate for herself in this seemingly small moment filled me with an overwhelming surge of pride and a profound reassurance at the insidious cycle of control, the toxic inheritance of my past, would irrevocably end with our generation. The profound legacy of our experience manifests not in lingering trauma, but in conscious, deliberate parenting choices. I tirelessly encourage Lily's independence, fostering her boundless curiosity within safe, nurturing boundaries. I validate her emotions without judgment, teaching her that every feeling is a valid part of the human experience. I model healthy relationships and unwavering self-respect daily, demonstrating through my actions the true meaning of love and autonomy. My journey from that crowded bus to the vibrant, abundant life I lead today has imbued me with invaluable lessons, truths I fervently hope to share with others facing similar harrowing crossroads. I learned that authentic love never, under any circumstance, demands the diminishment of oneself. Control is not protection, it is a cage. Isolation is not intimacy, it is a void. Criticism is not guidance, it is a weapon. Most importantly, I discovered that breaking free from the shackles of abuse requires both profound courage and an unwavering community. One stranger's compassionate intervention created the initial opening, a fragile crack in my prison walls, but sustained support from Eleanor, from my parents, from rekindled friendships, made true recovery, true rebuilding possible. Every woman, every soul, deserves both the unyielding opportunity to leave and the vital resources to rebuild a life free from fear. If you're watching this, if any part of my story resonates with your own relationship, please know with every fiber of your being that you are not alone. The first step toward freedom is often the hardest, fraught with fear and uncertainty, but a profoundly different life is possible, waiting to embrace you. Trust that small, insistent voice inside you. The one that whispers, "You deserve better." It's telling you the truth. For those who have never experienced such relationships, your awareness matters profoundly. Had the bus passengers looked away that day, had Eleanor remained silent, my story might have ended very differently, consumed by the shadows that threatened to engulf me. Sometimes safety is just one intervention away, a single act of courage that can ripple outwards, transforming lives. Have you ever witnessed a situation where something felt wrong, where your gut instinct screamed a silent warning, but you weren't sure whether to speak up? I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences, your reflections in the comments below. Your story, your courage might just illuminate the path for someone else, helping them recognize when to act, when to lend their voice to those who cannot yet speak for themselves. Please like this video if it resonated with you, if it sparked a flicker of recognition or understanding within your own heart. Subscribe for more stories of resilience, of triumph over adversity, and share it with someone who might desperately need this message today, a message of hope and liberation. Thank you for witnessing my journey, from the suffocating grip of fear to the boundless expanse of freedom. Remember, the life you save might someday be yours.